Hey there, all you cool cats and kittens. It's your Uncle Mad here with another video for you. Now, if you're a sports fan like me, one of the first things that kind of really shook things up and changed things here in this era of isolation we're living in was the cancellation of the NCAA basketball tournament. That was right when it started to shift and things started to feel a little bit different. And we as sports fans first felt that hit of, man, we're going to miss out on this huge event that we get to take part in every year. Now, I'm not a particularly big college basketball fan. My team, the Vanderbilt Commodores, has been quite awful for recent years, so my interest has waned as their talent level and appearances in said tournament have gone down. But it's always fun to fill out your bracket and see what you got right, what you got wrong, and how you do going along the way. Actually, it might have been to my benefit that the tournament got canceled, because I probably would have lost a lot of money betting on the tournament. But, that's neither here nor there. We missed out on the fun of filling out a bracket. But within the days, week or so after the tournament itself was canceled, all these alternative brackets started popping up online. Best fast food restaurant, best sit-down restaurant, best episode of TV series X, best movie of the 2000s, things like that. And so I was filling them out. I was just, what else did I have to do but fill out random brackets? And it hit me. I was like, I wonder if there's one for Walt Disney World. And so I typed into the old Google machine. That's what Parker told me it's called. I always go to him when I don't know what these newfound technological things are called. Typed Walt Disney World attractions tournament into the old Google machine. And sure enough, one popped up at the website allears.net. And I'll put a link in the description for their webpage where they have their bracket. So I looked it over. It had, all the main rides you'd want in a bracket. They were grouped, reasonably well. And so I just said, what the heck? What else do I have to do? I'm going to fill this bracket out. So I filled it out. And then once I had it done, I was like, hey, this could be some great video content of me going through the tournament, talking through why I chose which rides over others, but it also could be something that would be fun for anybody watching the videos to kind of play along with. So what I would encourage you to do before we get into this, pause the video right here, go to the link in the description below for allears.net, where they have the bracket they created, print one up for yourself, fill it out. That way, as I'm going through my brackets, you can play along and see where did we disagree, where were we on the same page. Give yourself a little fuel to go down into the comments and be like, you're an idiot. I can't believe you eliminated X ride and X round. So take a break, go print that up, fill it out, come back, and we'll go through it. I'll wait. All right, so we've got our tournament bracket laid out for you here. We'll go through what we plan to do each day of this week. Today, for the first day of our little tournament run through, we're going to do quadrants 1 and 2, the first rounds of these tournaments here. So starting with Haunted Mansion versus Kali River Rapids, and wrapping up with Frozen SingAlong versus Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin. Tomorrow we'll come back and we'll do the first rounds for quadrants 3 and 4. Then on Wednesday, we'll do the full round of 32. Thursday, we'll do the Sweet 16. That's what they call it in sports, folks. Wait a minute. Yep, Wednesday, Sweet 16. Thursday, Elite 8. And then Friday, we'll wrap up with the Final 4 and declare a champion of all Disney ride attractions. So that's the plan for the week. Hope you stick around for all of it. Day by day, you get to criticize me. That's the best part of this video. You get to tell me how stupid and wrong I was this whole time. It's going to be the best video series ever, because you can finally rail on me and tell me how much you hate me and how stupid I am for all of my decisions. So, should be pretty fun. All right, so let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into the tournament with our first matchup, the Haunted Mansion versus Kali River Rapids. This is going to be a pretty easy matchup, I would say. I don't think I have to say too much about the Haunted Mansion in this round. I think everybody knows it's one of the classic, all-time great Disney rides. Kali River Rapids, on the other hand, it's one of those things Disney does where Disney takes kind of a basic ride system you can see in parks across the world and kind of Disney-fies it. So, Kali River Rapids, if you grew up in Nashville, it's basically a fancy Disney version of the Grizzly River Rampage, where you're kind of in the little round circular boat and you're going down the rapids. You get splashed, you get wet, it's fun, it's fine, but it's one of those rides where it's a little bit better. Disney always takes it up a notch with those type of things, but it's still a very basic theme park ride, and can't really compete with the Haunted Mansion. So this first round matchup, easy win for the Haunted Mansion. On to the next round. Now our next matchup comes with a bit of a caveat. The next matchup is Country Bears Jamboree versus Rise of the Resistance. Now, unfortunately, I have not at this time had the opportunity to experience Ride of the Resistance, so even though I've heard it's great, I've heard it's one of the best rides Disney's ever made, it's hard for me to rank it personally without having experienced it firsthand, so just, by default, I have to eliminate it and let Country Bear Jamboree go on to the to the next round. I hope to ride Rise soon. Maybe if we do this again sometime in the future, this could be a completely different outcome once I've had the chance to experience that. But having not had that chance yet, it's just not really fair for me to advance it. But, not to take it away from Country Bears Jamboree, because it is also a great experience and very worthy of, winning a round or two in this tournament. So, sorry, Rise. I hope to be with you soon, but Country Bears Jamboree advances to the next round. In our next matchup, we have Living with the Land versus Tom Sawyer Island. Now, neither one of these are particularly high on my list of Disney attractions. I don't really even know when the last time I would have partook in either one would be. Kind of hard to say. Living with the Land, it's cool. It kind of shows you a lot about the conservatism and all the good stuff Disney does to help the environment. But, Tom Sawyer Island, it's like a fun playground. Kids can have a blast out there. Let's go with Tom Sawyer Island. That one's going to go on to the next round. Sorry, Living with the Land. You're still fighting the good fight. Keep it up. Our next first round matchup sees Pirates of the Caribbean against Lightning McQueen's Racing Academy. Now, once again, very similar to some of our other matchups in this round. Both rides have a little bit of quality to them, but ultimately Pirates, it's a classic, it's innovative for its time, one of the all-time greats. But just to give a little bit of credit to Lightning McQueen, it's a great experience. Disney plugged it into a spot where they needed to fill a hole. They had kind of some dead space in the back corner of Hollywood Studios. And for what it is, it's a great thing. If I had kids, I think it might even go up a little higher on the list because it's a great show. The Lightning McQueen animatronic is pretty cool. Ultimately, though, it's just a really basic show. It's kind of feels a little thrown together for Disney standards, but they kind of needed something where it's at, so it feels a need. It's also hurt by the fact I generally do not like the Cars franchise. I'm kind of baffled that it's had more movies than any other Pixar series, I think, if you include the spin-offs and all that other stuff. And for whatever reason, I don't like it. It's not one I really like. So, but it's a decent attraction, but it's no Pirates of the Caribbean, so of course, Pirates of the Caribbean on to the next round. Our next matchup features the Swiss Family Robinson's Treehouse going head-to-head with Millennium Falcon Smugglers Run. Millennium Falcon Smugglers Run is a new attraction to the Galaxy's Edge area of Hollywood Studios. It's the Star Wars themed land, of course. Swiss Family Robinson's Treehouse is a kind of themed walkthrough area after the classic Disney movie of the same name. I don't think this is much of a matchup. Swiss Family Robinson's, it's fun to walk through, kind of go around, see a recreation of something like that. But ultimately, Smuggler's Run is a really great attraction. It took the sort of Star Tours model of a simulator ride, and I think it brought it to a whole nother level. I got to experience it when I went on my last trip down there, which, as I mentioned earlier, unfortunately, Rise had not opened at that time. But I did get to do Smuggler's Run, enjoyed it a whole lot. And for that reason, it gets to advance to the next round. Our next matchup is the Carousel of Progress versus Navi River Journey. Now, I'll talk a little bit more about Carousel of Progress in the next round because it deserves some credit and it deserves some praise. I'm going to take the opportunity in this round to talk about how much I hate Navi River Journey. It might be the worst ride in all of Walt Disney World. There's another one that we'll talk about later that's its #1 competitor. But the thing that other ride has going for it is it generally doesn't have much of a wait time, so even though it's a bad ride, you can get on it and get it over with quickly. I don't know if everybody just expects this to be good because the other Pandora ride's so good, but this almost always had us an hour plus wait, and it sucks. So to wait an hour plus and then just go on a little fun, little quiet boat ride with some neon lights and one or two little screens that have little Navis running around. Everybody loves the little animatronic at the end, but I don't want to wait an hour to go on a casual little boat ride and just to see one cool animatronic at the very end of a ride. So this ride sucks. It loses. It's going down. Carousel progress on to the next round. That rhymed. I didn't mean for that to rhyme, but you know, when you're a lyricist like me, sometimes you just can't help it. Next up, we have It's Tough to Be a Bug versus Beauty and the Beast live on stage. Now, these are both pretty good shows. You got Beauty and the Beast live on stage, which is somewhat of a condensed version, almost of the Broadway version of the show, which is a very good show. You know, I'm not a big musical guy, but that's one of the ones I've gone to see and enjoyed myself. You know, it's probably the Disney effect of it all, but it's a good show. Tough to Be a Bug, you know, it's a, I don't know if you'd call it 3D, 4D, what kind of terminology you'd use for it, but you know, you're watching kind of a movie version of a new story from the Bug's Life universe, but it's got additional attractions beyond the 3D movie you're watching. I won't spoil any of them, but the theater has a lot of cool effects and things that add to the overall effectiveness of the whole show. So with that being said, you know, I'm going to go with It's Tough to Be a Bug, just because, like I said, there's a whole lot going on. There's a lot to it. It's more of a experience. You know, this is, you're just kind of seeing a live production of Beauty and the Beast, which it's great. It's a nice thing if you got a little bit of time to kill in the park and just want to sit and relax for a little while. But in terms of attractions I would prefer to see, I'm going to go with It's Tough to Be a Bug. In our next matchup, we have the Hollywood Tower Hotel, better known as the Tower of Terror, against Dumbos Flight. Now this one, I kind of feel bad about this matchup because, you know, to me, Tower of Terror is one of the best rides Disney's ever made. It's just, you know, everything about it's incredible. But Dumbo is one of those, you know, classic rides. It's in, I think it's almost every commercial you see for Walt Disney World, just because it's so easily identifiable as being one of the, you know, signature, most well-known rides of the park. But ultimately, it's just kind of a little up and down kind of buzz ride. I'm sure it's great for kids. You know, a lot of this is skewed because I don't have kids of my own, so I'm going off what I like. You know, this is my list. So, you know, things like Dumbo, they're classics, they're great, but they're not my style of ride. So, unfortunately, classic ride, going down early. Tower of Terror moves on to the next round. Our next matchup is Space Mountain versus the Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular. Now, you've probably seen a pattern developing so far where I tend to talk a little bit more about the loser sometimes than the winner. That's partially because I'll probably talk a little bit more about the winner as we go along. I got a lot of time to fill in these videos as we go, but I think there's more explanation needed for why I pick a loser rather than a winner, because ultimately, everything at Walt Disney World is pretty great, outside of Navi River Journey and a ride we'll talk about later. And actually, we'll throw this one in there too. So to explain why one is a little bit not as good as the other seems to make a little more sense in my head than explain why one ride's so great, because they're all kind of great in their own ride. So head start, just spoiler alert, Space Mountain's going through the next round, and I'm going to tell you a little story about why. So when I was 6 years old, my family and I went to Disney World for the first time. Great experience. It's ultimately the thing that made me probably fall in love with Disney and just feel like I have to go back there as much as I possibly can throughout my life. So, but one incident on that first trip lives in infamy. My family and I, we went to see the Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular. Now this would have been 90, 91, maybe 92, somewhere in that range. So Hollywood Studios, MGM Studios as it was known then, as a park was, you know, relatively new. All these experiences were new. So not only was it, you know, my first time and my family's first time being there, it was a lot of people's first time being there. So this is an attraction that was practically brand new when we went to see it. And it's still there today, which is kind of crazy to me. But so we go see the show. I don't remember the exact details of what transpired. What I would say is, you know, back then, no fast passes. You know, like I said, everything was new, so I'm sure the lines were a lot longer than maybe they would be for an attraction like this today. And, you know, without a fast pass, something like that, once you're in that line, you know, you're kind of in the line until you're done. So what I think probably happened was young 6-year-old Matt, at some point in waiting to get to the show, realized he had to go to the bathroom. Well, you know, it's too late. So it's like, okay, I'll just hold it. We'll go see this show, and afterwards I'll go right to the bathroom. Well, unfortunately, this show features a lot of explosions and things happening and crazy things that you don't see coming. So we're sitting there, Great show. Indiana Jones runs away from that rolling boulder. It's all great. All of a sudden, boom, huge explosion out of nowhere that I don't see coming. And I wet my pants. Let's just get it out of the way. I wet my pants. Now, you know, a lot of kids probably don't remember specific stories about when they wet their pants as kids. You know, it happens. It's a kid's thing to do. My uncle has reminded me of this story just about once a week, every week for the last 30 years since it happened. You know, he will, anytime even the slightest hint of anything related to Disney comes up, he'll be like, oh, like Indiana Jones. And he'll say something like, boom, psst, just remind me, this attraction made me pee my pants. So I'm forever scarred by it. I've never been back, actually. In all the times I've been back to Disney World, I've never seen this show again. And I probably never will. I can't wait till it gets demolished because it's right in this little sweet spot where I think when they expand the Star Wars land, it's in a really sweet spot where it can probably get taken down. So I'm counting the days till that happens. Another little funny anecdote about this. My wife, she's not the biggest Disney fan, you know, but I still wanted her to fill out the bracket just to see what she would put, and she doesn't even know what half the rides are, so it was just really interesting to see her brackets. But the most interesting thing she did was she crowned Indiana Jones Stunt Spectaculars the champion. And she did that just because she knows the story about me wetting my pants when I went to see it. So you see the kind of family I have to live with. Congratulations, Space Mountain. This was an easy win for you. In our next matchup, we have the Festival of the Lion King against It's a Small World. Now, this is probably going to be one of my first controversial decisions here, but for whatever reason, I've always found It's a Small World to be a terrible ride. It's just, the song annoys me, the animatronics don't do anything for me, the visuals of it don't do anything for me. A lot like Navi River Journey, it's just a slow boat ride through it, and there are a few slow boat ride rides that I like, but they have, you know, more appealing elements to them. You know, Navi River Journey, like I mentioned, was very stupid to me. And this one, it just always just felt the same way. I understand it's a classic. It's, you know, one of the day one OG attractions, but I just don't like it. And this is my bracket, so I get to choose. And Festival of Lion King, it's honestly one of the best shows Disney puts on. You know, anytime you have a chance to go see it, it's a great opportunity to kind of get out of heat, because for whatever reason, Animal Kingdom feels like it's always about 30 degrees hotter than all the other parks. So, you know, it's a great opportunity to get out of heat over there and see a great show. But I just don't like It's a Small World, so sorry. Festival of the Lion King advancing to the next round. Our next matchup sees the Mad Tea Party against Dinosaur. Now, I'm not one of those people who has any issues with riding a ride like the Mad Tea Party. You know, there's a lot of people who, you know, can't stomach it, can't deal with it, you know, motion sickness type things. It's just, they're never going to ride it. I'm not one of those people. But it's also not a ride I particularly enjoy just because it's, you know, very basic. You go in, you spin. I think I liked it a little bit better when I was younger, when I wasn't going on as many of the bigger thrill rides. But 36-year-old just 36-year-old Matt doesn't enjoy it as much as some of the other rides. And I don't enjoy it particularly as much as Dinosaur. I actually think Dinosaur is one of the most underrated rides in all of the property. You know, it could use a little love and attention, you know, a little bit of refurb, a little bit of cleanup, maybe make sure the animatronics consistently work, maybe add a couple elements, tweak some of the effects a little bit. But even with all that being said, it's still a great attraction and one of the best going at Disney World, you know, but a lot of people, it kind of flies under the radar. It rarely has that long of a wait time. I don't know if it's because it's kind of tucked in a weird corner of Animal Kingdom or what, but to me, it's a ride I really enjoy and one I always make a point to ride. So for this matchup, it's going to be Dinosaur advancing to the next round. Our next matchup sees Slinky Dog Dash go up against Up, a Great Bird Adventure. I don't see any possible way I could possibly put Up, a Great Bird Adventure through. I mean, there have been multiple lawsuits launched against Disney because of Up, a Great Bird Adventure, because for whatever reason, it sounds like birds are always attacking people in the show. So unless you just want that extra thrill that you might get attacked by a bird while you're watching the show, I don't know why you would ever choose that over Slinky Dog Dash. So this one's a pretty easy one for me. Slinky Dog Dash is going on to the next round. The next matchup sees Prince Charming's Carousel go one-on-one with Journey into Imagination. Now with the Carousel, much like what I said about like Kali River Rapids, it's just a carousel with a little bit of Disney magic sprinkled onto it. There's nothing amazing or spectacular about it. On the other hand, you know, Journey into Imagination, a lot of people, myself included, prefer the original version of the attraction. It's since been modified and changed. The story's changed, but it still features Figment, and Figment's become one of the key signature characters in Walt Disney World lore. And overall, it's still got some fun gags, some catchy tunes, and some little parts that are fun. You know, not quite as good as the original, but it's still a really high quality ride. It's one I always try to make a point to ride when I'm in the parks. Carousel, not so much, because it's, once again, it's just a carousel, but Journey into Imagination advances to the next round. Next up, we have Spaceship Earth against Peter Pan's Flight. Now, this might be the first really tough first round matchup we've come across, because you've got two of the just really almost signature rides of the park. You know, Spaceship Earth, you know, it is the icon of Epcot. It's the thing everybody associates that park with, you know, the big golf ball that you come in with. I don't even know how many people actually know there's a ride in there. You know, that might be something that distant Disney fans don't realize, but there's a ride in there, and it's actually pretty cool. On the other hand, Peter Pan's Flight, one of the original, most of the innovative dark rides, kind of probably a template that a lot of the ones that came after it have been based on and created around. So two really, really great attractions. Actually heard somebody kind of debating about Peter Pan on a different YouTube series, and they brought up a really, really great point that kind of skewed my final decision on this one. Peter Pan almost always has a ridiculously crazy wait time, which is, I don't know if it's they can't get many people on it. I don't know if people just know that ride and want to go to it. I don't know what the deal is, but you're almost always going to have to wait well over an hour to ride it, and the entire attraction would last a little over a minute. So you're not really getting your bang for your buck, your return on investment on that ride, even though it is a great ride. You know, if you could get right on it and just ride it and go, that'd be one thing, but to wait over an hour for Peter Pan's Flight, not really worth it. So I think that's kind of the tipping the scales in favor of Spaceship Earth in this tough first round matchup. But for that reason, Spaceship Earth, you have advanced to the next round. Next up, we have the Enchanted Tiki Room against Alien Swirling Saucers. Now, talked a little bit about the Teacups ride. Alien Swirling Saucers is kind of a variation on that. And I like it a little bit more than the basic Teacup ride, because they kind of took it, added some different elements that make it a little bit more interesting, a little bit more fun than your standard Teacup ride. But you got the Enchanted Tiki Room, one of the most classic rides, classic attractions in all of Disney. One of the most innovative animatronics displays that the parks had going back to day one. It's one of those attractions that just feels like it has Walt's fingerprints all over it, and that gives it a little extra something, a little extra boost that kind of pushes it ahead. So while I do like Swirling Saucers better than most Teacup rides, it just can't get past the Tiki Room in this round. So on to the next round goes the Enchanted Tiki Room and all of its birds, but not Iago or Zazu. The final matchup we will be discussing on today's show sees Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin going one-on-one with the Frozen SingAlong show. Now, most of the time, I'm always going to pick a ride over a show. The shows at Disney are all great, but I'm more of a ride person, you know, especially if it's a fun ride with some entertaining value to it. You know, if you got, you know, Navi River Journey versus show, I'll always pick the show. I don't care what show it is. I'm never going to pick Navi River Rapids over anything, except maybe a ride we'll talk about later. To be continued. But the Frozen Sing-Along show, it's a great show. Obviously, everybody knows those songs. Everybody loves those songs. They're super popular. The show has some good jokes, some funny elements to it, but I really like Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin. It's kind of a unique ride. It's one of those rides that's kind of in a weird corner of Tomorrowland, and it's almost like people forgot it's back there. I don't know how much longer it's going to be there, because it's so similar to Toy Story Mania. It feels kind of weird to have two Toy Story rides with such a similar kind of base element to them in the same park, but it's still there. It's still fun. It's basically like a video game come to life. If you know the kind of secrets of how you could score more points, it's almost more fun, because instead of just blasting aimlessly, you're like, I can do this. I can get that super galactic hero score that everybody has. I don't ever get it. I'm terrible at all these games. I don't know if it's my hand-eye coordination. I don't know what it is. I used to be a good shooter, but somewhere between the ages of 17 and 36. That went away. I went shooting with my dad a few years ago, and I couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. Is that a saying people still use? I don't know. I'm terrible at shooting. I used to not be so bad. I even had a Boy Scout badge for shooting, but not anymore. But I still enjoy this attraction. This is kind of a tough one because the show's good, but Buzz Lightyear beats Frozen. Buzz Lightyear goes on to the next round. All right, that wraps up the start of our Disney Attractions Tournament breakdown. Like I said, you can go to allears.net, link in the description below, print up your own version of this bracket, and go along and see where you agree with me, where you disagree with me, where I'm an idiot and you're a genius. And once you've done that, let me know in the comments down below where you saw how stupid I was and where you saw how much smarter you were than me. Also, like the video. I think we did good. This was fun talking about Disney rides. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and hit that little bell to make sure you get notified when the new episode comes out, because YouTube doesn't always tell you if a new episode comes out. They might not tell you I have a new episode till round 4 of the tournament. Suddenly you're coming on going, oh, what happened? Where'd the other rounds of the tournament go? I don't know. I'm so confused. I don't know anything. I'm dumb. I'm stupid. But if you hit that bell, you won't feel stupid. You will not feel dumb. You will feel smart because you have seen every episode and you will know exactly what has happened in the tournament up to that point. So do those things. We'll see you tomorrow with the continuation of the tournament. But until then, make sure you do not stand too close to me. I appreciate it. Bye-bye.